Doing great tonight. We're going to start with Napoleon's Poisoner in his memoirs. It's pretty interesting because he sounds like he's the most loyal person in the world to Napoleon, doesn't he? It's how it's done. Okay? So, whilst the rest of the courtiers who had survived the first departure from the Élysée Bourbon disappeared, one by one, from Malmaison and the saloons in which Queen Hortense formerly did the honors with so worthy a grace, and in which she received her stepfather with such respectful affection and touching tenderness, were becoming more and more deserted. The great dignitaries of state. Oh, I didn't even turn it on. And the light changes a lot. I turn into a ghost, and then it gets good again. When does it get good? All right. I might be a ghost again, but the light might switch back. Anyway, okay. Whilst the rest of the courtiers who had survived the first departure from the Élysée Bourbon disappeared, one by one, from Malmaison and the saloons in which Queen Hortense formerly did the honors with so worthy a grace, and in which she received her stepfather with such respectful affection and touching tenderness, were becoming more and more deserted. The great dignitaries of state, the marshals of the empire, disappeared. Louis XVIII was approaching, and their eyes were directed towards the quarter from whence, under a new master, they might receive the same honors which they feared they had already lost. Aides de camp and general officers, covered with the dust of a skirmish, right from time to time, bringing news and coming to solicit orders which they did not receive, for the emperor kept himself more and more apart, and only allowed the grand marshal and the aides de camp on service to approach his person. The case was different with the population from that of the high dignitaries and marshals. They ran together from all sides to testify the despair at the emperor's abdication and to entreat him not to abandon the country to the guidance of traitors who were about to restore the crown to the king of the nobles, for thus they had usually styled Louis XVIII. During the course of the day, a dispatch arrived for General Becker. It was at first supposed to relate to the emperor's departure, but it referred to a very different subject, and he was advancing, and fears were entertained for the emperor. The dispatch was as follows. Order the Minister of War to General Becker, Paris, June 28th. General, you will take the command of a body of the guards at present at Ray, and proceed to burn and completely destroy the bridge of Chateau by means of the troops of the Courbevoie. I shall also cause the bridge of Bessons to be destroyed and send one of my aides de camp to superintend the operations. Tomorrow I shall send some troops to Saint-Germain, but in the meantime, guard yourself against an attack by that road. The officer who is the bearer of this letter is commissioned to bring me back a report of the execution of the order. The Prince of Acmio. General Becker caused the order which he had received to be instantly executed at 8 o'clock in the evening. A second message was received from the Prince of Acmio, Davou, by which the general was ordered instantly to proceed to Paris. On his arrival at the minister's hotel, General Becker passed a person who was just taking his departure from the prince, to whom he paid no particular attention, having, however, joined the prince in the garden. The latter, without allowing him any time to give an account of the mission which he had fulfilled during the day, asked him if he knew the person whom he had met in the vestibule. No, Monseigneur, replied General Becker. Well, my dear General, said the minister, that is Monsieur de Vitrolles, the agent of Louis XVIII, who has come on the part of His Majesty to submit to me certain propositions, which I think it would be for the interest of the country to accept. If mine are accepted, I shall tomorrow ascend the tribune to explain the nature of our situation, and in order to show the necessity which I think exists for the adoption of projects which I deem useful to the national cause, As may well be supposed. Such an extraordinary confidence made a lively impression upon General Becker. Marshal, replied he, I admit that I cannot conceal from you the astonishment which I feel at seeing you adopt a determination which is to decide the fate of the empire in favor of a second restoration. Beware of taking upon yourself such responsibility. There are, perhaps, still resources to repel the enemy, and the chamber, by its votes in favor of Napoleon II, appears to me not to look with satisfaction on the return of the Bourbons. The minister war, perceiving that he had not gained the approbation of General Becker, broke up the conversation, and entering his office, placed in his hands a copy of the preceding document, the original of which had, during the course of the day, been sent to the Minister of Marine. To this copy was subjoined the original note from the Committee of Government, written on a loose sheet and addressed to General Becker. To this written order, the minister added verbal instructions, urging extremely the departure of the emperor should he sojourn longer in the environs of the capital. It was said he could no longer be answered for. At the break of day, General Becker set out for Malmaison, which he had left more sorrowful, more solitary, and desolate than ever for the preceding evening. Queen Hortense had taken leave of the emperor. On his return to Malmaison, General Becker gave the emperor an account of his conversation with the minister. It gave rise to a very melancholy reflection, and was so much more astonishing as this same Marshal Davout had formerly sent Monsieur Fleury de Chabillon to the Isle of Elba in order to call the attention of the emperor to the opportunity of his return. When he landed in France, Davout felt himself so deeply compromised that he asked for a refuge from Monsieur Pasquier, surgeon-in-chief at the hospital of the Invalides, whom he had formerly known in the army, and on whom he thought he could reckon. He was right. Monsieur Pasquier concealed him so well, both him and the Duke of Bissano, that the police, who had received information of the fact, searched every corner of the Invalide to no purpose. During this time, a scene was passing which might have been followed by the most important consequences. On the morning of the 29th of June, we were awakened by the cries of "Vive l'Empereur! Long live the Emperor! Bas les Bourbons! Down with the Bourbons! Bas les traitors! Down with the traitors!" These cries were uttered by the division of General Bray, who was returning from La Vendée and had stopped before the entrance to the palace. The soldiers refused to proceed a step further, declared their earnest wish for the restoration of their emperor, and protested that they themselves would proceed to take him by force and place him at their head, unless their officers consented to be the interpreters of their wishes. General Bray yielded to the wish of his soldiers, ordered them to halt upon the road, and came to ask an audience of the emperor. I was in attendance. I thought the emperor was in bed and went to waken him, when I found him sitting in his library, reading Montaigne. "What is it?" said he to me, turning round at the noise which I made in opening the door. "Sire," replied I, "it is General Bray, who is returning with his division from La Vendée." "Well, what does he want with me?" "He craves permission to see your majesty in the name of his soldiers, who, on being made acquainted with your presence at Malmaison, eagerly and loudly demand that your majesty would consent to put yourself at their head." "What does Marshal Becker think of this request?" "I do not think he's at Malmaison, but if he is here, he is asleep probably." "Cause him to be sent for, if he be here, and let him come with Bray." Okay. I never heard that conversation before. But we never know what really happened, because Montaigne's a liar, so we can only wonder if that's true. But probably something true, who knows. Anyway, we're looking at this story over and over and over again until we can understand what's going on in it. I think we're really close to understanding what's going on with it. I think really close. Hopefully we are. That's what we're working towards. Understanding what this story is trying to tell us. All right, time for Las Casas in Italian. I am by no means an Italian speaker at all. I'm just, I tried to figure the phonetics out. This is phonetic work for me, but I think I am learning Italian, hopefully. It's a beautiful language of music, as we all know. 425, Profondi, let's go. L'imperatore non presta fede alcuna alla medicina e ai suoi rimedi, di cui non faveron uso. Dottore, diceva egli, il nostro corpo è una macchina destinata a vivere. Il suo organismo è inteso a questo fine. Lasciatelo vivere a suo pelagio. La vita si difende da sé e farà più da sé sola, che non gravano col peso dei vostri rimedi. Il nostro corpo è un orologio perfetto che deve andare per un certo tempo. L'originario non ha il potere di aprirlo e non gli è dato soccorro se non ha tentoni e con la benda e gli occhi, che se talvolta a forza di tormentarlo, a forza di contraffatti, strumenti si giunge a migliorarmi alcun poco la Costituzione. Quanti ignoranti non finiscono invece col costardo? L'imperatore, pertanto, non riconosceva l'utilità della medicina che in alcuni casi è rara, nei morbi conosciuti, consecrati dal tempo e dall'esperienza. Confrontava allora l'arte del medico a quella degli ingegneri negli assedi regolari, ove le massime di Vauban e le regole dell'esperienza sottomisero tutti gli accidenti a leggi determinate giusto tali principi. Aveva l'imperatore concepito l'idea di una legge per la quale non sarebbe stato permesso alla maggior parte dei medici francesi, se non l'uso dei rimedi innocui, interdicendo loro quello dei cosiddetti eroici, cioè che possono produrre la morte, meno che non ritrassero dalla professione loro 3 o 4 mila franchi all'anno, la qualcosa dava a supporre una certa educazione, un qualche saper ad un tal qual credito pubblico. Questo provvedimento, diceva, era per fermo, giusto e benefico. Tutta volta nella mia situazione paravami intempestivo, non essendo ancora i lumi abbastanza generalmente diffusi, per cui nessuna dubbiezza che le moltitudini revisato non avessero un atto tirannico nella legge intesa a sottrarlo ai suoi carnefici. L'imperatore aveva spesso, diceva egli, interpellato sulla medicina il celebre Corvisar, suo medico. Questi, prescindendo dall'onore del suo corpo e dei suoi colleghi, confermava di aver presi a poco le stesse opinioni cui per giunta traduceva nella pratica. Era nemicissimo di rimedi e ne faceva rarissimo uso. Maria Luigia, soffrendo molto nella sua gravidanza e sollecitandolo perciò ad amministrargli un qualche medicinale, le apprestava maliziosamente pilol di midolo, di pani, le quali, a detta dell'imperatrice, le arriscavano grandi vantaggio. All right. This is one of the classic moments of Las Casas. You were there for it. Now in Italian, where It actually is. So Napoleon gives this whole speech about how the human body is a pocket watch and you can't open it. It's gonna run for as long as it's gonna run. So just let the body do what it's gonna do. That's his whole philosophy. He's got his fate. He dies when he's supposed to die. And he tells one of his rare, unflattering stories in Louise. I'm telling you, this is big stuff. Anyway, so basically, he very rarely say anything against Louise because his son. So basically, Marie Louise said she was sick, and then the doctor gave her pills with breadcrumbs in it, and she was thrilled because they made her feel so much better. Anyway, this rare occasion that he will make fun of her. So I'm glad you guys could all be there for that. All right, so it's time for French. Now, French, if you understand French, it's going to rip your heart out. This story, and I will be crying and crying. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be horrible. I dread what's coming up in Lavalette. You have no idea how this kills me. The story of Lavalette. So basically, since I built it up, they drive Napoleon from France again. Oh, the traitors rise up. They think they're going to get so much money because his puppet is in charge. They can just do all their banking, do all the crime that they love to do, that Napoleon was in the way of. Okay? It's the criminals hate law, and Napoleon represented the law. That's the big secret here. Okay? They hate people who enforce the law. Okay? Because they're criminals. That is exactly what's going on. That's why they hate Napoleon. That's why they hate populism. Because they are a bunch of criminals. Anyway, everybody knows, reads my blog, knows that's how I feel. And I can back it up. Anyway, so the criminals drive Napoleon from France. Again, the conspiratorial criminals that we know so well. And as soon as they can, they lock Lavalette up. And his wife is pregnant. It's horrible. This is a horrible thing. They are going to kill him because he did the post office. During the 100 days, they're going to kill him for that. Okay? I mean, monsters. I can't even... This is me holding my anger back. That's the sad part here. I have to control myself. I'm so mad about this stuff. Anyway, time for French. There we go. Okay. Le lendemain, je retournais chez l'empereur. Il venait de recevoir les notions les plus positives sur la disposition des esprits à la Chambre des députés. On lui avait donné, sans doute avec ménagement, car il ne me paraissait pas convaincu que la résolution de prononcer son abdication fut décidée. Mais on ne m'avait pas ménagé les paroles, et j'arrivais près de lui, bien convaincu qu'il n'avait d'autre parti à prendre que de descendre encore une fois du trône. Je lui ai donné tous les détails que je venais de recevoir. Et je n'ai balancé et pas à lui conseiller de prendre un seul parti qui fût digne de lui et me coûter d'un air sombre, que quoi qu'il fût jusqu'à un certain point, mettre de lui l'agitation de son âme et toute l'horreur de sa position éclateront sur son visage et dans les mouvements. You know what? I'm going to stop this. I realized I left the machine on, and I'm really sorry. Give me a second. I always want my sound to be better. Anyway, okay. Oh, the light was good for a second. Okay, let's do French again. Okay. Le lendemain, je retournais chez l'empereur. Il venait de recevoir les notions les plus positives sur les dispositions des esprits à la Chambre des députés. On les lui avait donné, sans doute, avec ménagement, car il ne me paraissait pas convaincu que la résolution de prononcer son abdication fût décidée. Mais on ne m'avait pas ménagé les paroles. J'arrivais près de lui, bien convaincu qu'il n'avait d'autre parti à prendre que de descendre encore une fois du trône. Je lui donnais tous les détails que je venais de recevoir. Et je ne pensais pas celui que essayait de prendre le seul parti qui fut digne de lui. Il m'écoutait d'un air sobre et quoiqu'il fût jusqu'à un certain point maître de lui, l'agitation de son âme et toute l'horreur de sa position éclataient sur son visage et dans ses mouvements. Je sais, lui dis-je, que votre majesté peut encore tirer l'épée, mais avec qui et contre qui? Le bâtiment a crasé tous les courages. L'armée est encore dans les plus grands désordres. Il n'y a rien à attendre à Paris. Le coup d'État du 18 primaire ne peut plus se renouveler. Cette pensée éloigne mon âme, me dit-il en s'arrêtant. La pauvre France, dans ce moment, essaie entreront et lui fait son tableau fidèle de l'irritation des députés. Engageront à envoyer son abdication. La mort lui paraissait préférable. Quelques mots préférés, nous l'annoncerons. Cependant, il se décida. Ce grand acte consommé, resta calme pendant toute la journée. Dans des conseils sur la position qui pouvait prendre l'armée sur la marche à suivre, dans les négociations avec l'ennemi, et il insista surtout sur la nécessité de proclamer son fils encore. Maintenant, l'intérêt de cet enfant, qui est par la nécessité de rallier l'énergie des sentiments et des affections sur une seule tête. Malheureusement, personne ne voulut l'entendre. Des hommes, des sens et du courage se rallieront à cet avenir dans les deux chambres. Mais la peur dominait la majorité. Et parmi ceux qu'elle n'avait pas éteints, plusieurs pensions que l'éclatante manifestation de la liberté et la résolution de la défendre à tout prix ferait reculer à l'ennemi était un bon. Étrange illusion de la faiblesse et de l'expérience si fausse pendant la respecter car elle avait ce dont l'amour de la patrie, mais tout excusant, pouvait-on la justifier? La population de la capitale avait repris son attitude habituelle d'énergie la plus complète, avec la résolution de crier « Vive le roi !» S'il arrivait bien escorté, car on ne peut tenir compte de la 30e partie des habitants qui demandaient des armes ou qui se prononçaient avec ardeur contre les retus de la famille abandonnée. Les 23. Je retournai à l'Élysée. L'empereur était dans son bain depuis 2 jours. Il dirigea lui-même l'entretien sur l'Asie qu'il devait choisir. Et il me parla des États-Unis. Je repoussai cette pensée pour un mouvement, sans réflexion, et avec une vivacité qui le surprit. Et pourquoi pas l'Amérique, me dit-il. Parce que Moreau s'y est retiré, lui dis-je. Ce mot était dur, et je ne me consolerai jamais de l'avoir prononcé. Si, quelques jours après, je n'avais pas changé d'avis. Il est reçu sans humeur apparente, mais je ne doute pas qu'il n'ait fait sur lui une impression fâcheuse. J'insistais pour le choix de l'Angleterre et les raisons qui lui ont donné me paraissaient impossibles. Mais en les quittant, j'ai rencontré le général F dans le salon et qui je fis part de l'entretien. Vous êtes trompé, me dit-il. Sur le gouvernement anglais, toutes les institutions sont excellentes pour la nation, mais les étrangers ne sont point admis à jouir de leurs bienfaits. L'empereur ne trouvera dans ce pays qu'oppression, injustice. La nation ne sera point consultée sur le traitement qu'on lui fera subir. Et je vous prédis que loin de trouver protection, il n'y aura pas d'outrage qu'on invente peut se venger. Ces réflexions me frapperont et j'ai prié F de les lui communiquer. Il m'était cependant difficile de les admettre sans restriction. J'ai conçu bien que le gouvernement anglais peut devoir à la sûreté de l'Europe éloigné l'empereur de toutes les communications avec ses nombreux partisans, mais le condamné au plus long et plus affreux des supplices, et puis c'est sous sa personne tous les genres de barbarie, en inventé, inconnu au plus affreux tyran, car comment donner un autre nom à cette privation insupportable de toute relation avec la civilisation? Elle est l'espèce humaine, la séparée de sa femme, de son enfant. Elle est privée même de la consolation de l'effroi des nouvelles. Voilà ce que tout homme d'honneur n'aurait pas pu penser. Après une telle conduite, il est permis de supposer qu'il y a dans cette nation, c'est estimable d'ailleurs, une sécheresse de cœur et une absence totale d'humanité et d'élévation quand son orgueil est blessé. This is very interesting what he's saying. He is saying if Napoleon falls into the hands of the people who own the English government, they're going to do things to him that are going to be so evil that you can't imagine them. It's going to be a new level of cruelty, what these people are going to do to him. And they're basically saying there would be no humanity because their pride is hurt. And that is so true. That is so, so, so true, what Lavlet is saying. And he was completely a prophet in knowing that that was going to happen beforehand. Because that is how the people are who own the English government. If you hurt their pride, they will never forget it. And they will do anything. They will do anything to anybody. And a lot of why I tell this story is because I want people to see how cruel they were. Napoleon, the whole time of St. Helena, said, just please shoot me. You are such monsters to kill me like this. He's saying this, and that's why I read this over and over and over again so people can hear what Napoleon was saying. He's saying, I wish you people to shoot me, and I'm not going to kill myself and give you the satisfaction. They did everything to get him to kill himself. So the history would be that Napoleon killed himself ultimately, and it would tarnish his name. And he let them kill him slowly in the cruelest way possible just to make a point. And that's why I love him. Do anything to make a point. So I don't want his suffering to be in vain. And that is, I want everybody to know what they did to him. And I want everybody to know they're still running things. And they are hurting us constantly. And now we're all in the same position as Napoleon. We're all under house arrest. And everything they did to him, they're doing to us now. And that's because we didn't stop them 200 years ago. And people didn't support Napoleon. And I say this, like, I can't believe we allow it. It's unbelievable to me that we let these things go on. It's unbelievable. Anyway, time for doctors, Napoleon's doctor in St. Helena. Okay. 17 de diciembre, había más de un mes que la salud del emperador continuaba en buen estado. Le habían vuelto las fuerzas y recobrado las funciones digestivas. Todo me parecía ir mejor cuando el man se despertó con mayor violencia. A la 1:15 de la madrugada le acometieron agudos retornijones de tripas, un insoportable dolor en el hígado, síntomas todos de una enteritis o inflamación intestinal. Inmediatamente le mandé baños, lavativas simples y dulcificantes, unturas emolientes en el empeine y le aconsejé el aceite de ricino o higuera infernal. 18 de diciembre, los cólicos pierden un poco su violencia para sin cortarse enteramente ni dejar un instante de sosiego al enfermo. Una tos seca se había manifestado al amanecer, mas su intensidad disminuye con el uso de anodinos. 19 de diciembre, el fin del día de ayer ha sido bastante sosegado. Los dolores de tripas se han repetido menos a menudo durante la noche y el dolor del hígado ha desaparecido casi enteramente. 20 de diciembre. El emperador está un poco mejor, descansa algunos ratos y toma un baño al anochecer. 21 de diciembre, hoy a las 9 de la mañana. Hallándose mucho mejor que ayer. ha salido a dar un paseo y a su vuelta ha tomado un baño. Ya había salido a mi correría acostumbrada y habiéndome extraviado algún rato en el parque, regresaba al tiempo que Napoleón salía del baño. Yo creo, me dijo, este principio que visitabais a los médicos ingleses, ¿acaso no han estado puntuales a cita? No, señor. En particular, han parecido sensibles a la invitación y la han aceptado con reconocimiento, mas luego han callado de dictamen y se han excusado. Ignoro si la misma mano que nos ha detenido es la que acababa de prenderme a mí. ¿Cómo prender? Sí, señor. Yo me retiraba sosegadamente a mi casilla, mas la centinela me ha negado el paso y se me ha conducido el cuerpo de guardia. Este es el motivo que me ha retardado. El emperador mudó luego de conversación y no queriendo yo insistir en ella, me retiré. Mas los días siguientes se repitieron las vejaciones personales, pues me detuvieron e insultaron. Napoleón no quiso que aguantase más, sino que escribiese el calabrés, manifestándole el desprecio que me esperaba, su maldad, y que si persistía en ella me retiraría. Poco me costó poner la carta, pues tenía demasiado enojo para detenerme. All right, so this is Napoleon's ongoing issue with his governor of St. Helena, who's really just there to make sure he gets killed. They actually changed the governor of St. Helena so they could put someone that would kill him, or, to play his part to make sure Napoleon died. And Napoleon's always calling him the Calabrian, because Napoleon's calling him a mafioso. He's always calling him, or he calls him Sicilian, he's constantly calling him a mafioso, which is very interesting, because Napoleon, of all people, would know who he's dealing with, He just has that information. It's very much available to him, what kind of people he's dealing with. Yeah. Okay, so now it's time for Arilla's causes in German. And Napoleon is, he's reliving the conquest of Italy. And he's, like, dictating the history of his conquest of Italy. It's like him as a historian. Anyway, this is in German. Die zweite Belagerung von Mantua, der ersten Tag nach Aufhebung der Blockade, wurde man zur Führung von der Koalition so eingewendet, die Werke der Belagerer so zerstören und sowohl die Artilleriestücke als die Munition, die sie sanden, in die Festung zu bringen, aber die schnell aufeinander folgenden Unfälle welche Israel brechen die Franzosen bald wieder vor diesen Platz zurück. Der Verlust der Artillerie-Equipage benahmen die Hoffnung einer neuen Belagerung unternehmen zu können. Es war eine Equipage mit großen Muren aus den verschiedenen italienischen Festungen zusammengebracht worden und fast günstig verloren gegangen. In dem wird nun die Witterung schlägt und ist wieder in einer Seite, wo das Klima seiner Verwüstungen beginnt, die Eroberung der Laufgräben und der Dienst in denselben sehr nachtheilig für die Truppen geworden sein. Da also der französische General seine Belagerungsgeschosse zur Hand hätte, womit er gewiss sein konnte, Mantua in 6 Wochen zu nehmen, vorgab er es auf, eine neue Artillerie-Equipage herstellen zu lassen, indem sie vielleicht erst dann fertig geworden sein werde, wenn neue Ereignisse in Genotik hätten mit wiederholtem Verlust desselben die Belagerung Roms weiter auszuheben. Er begnügt sich daher mit einer bloßen Blockade. Der General Sahuget wurde damit überzeugt. Er griff das Gouverneur und der General Dalawane Bürger fortan. Sie besetzten diese Pässe und ganze Region, warfen den Feind in die Festung und schlossen sie enger ein. Man strebte die Schanzen und Werke, um die Stadt zu verwehren und so wenig Mannschaft als möglich zu bedürfen, denn die Mut des Wieders verminderte die Zahl der Belagerer mit jeden Tag. Nun mit Schrecken sah man voraus, dass mit dem Herbst die Krankheiten noch zunehmen mussten. Allerdings litt die Garnison an den nämlichen Übel und hatte keinen Verlust. Right. Good night.